changes everything, changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love, changes everything, changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love, changes everything, changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love, changes everything, changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love, changes everything. You turn my morning into dancing, you turn my morning into dancing, you turn my morning into dancing, you turn my morning into dancing. 'Cause your love changes everything, your love changes everything. You turn my morning into dancing, you turn my morning into dancing, you turn my morning into dancing. 'Cause your love changes everything, your love changes everything. Oh, there's something about your love, something about your love, changes everything in my body. Oh, something about your love, something about your love, changes everything, it changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love, changes everything, it changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love, changes everything, changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love, changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love, changes everything, changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love, changes everything, changes everything. Something about your love, something about your love, changes everything. You turn my morning into dancing, 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 you turn my morning into dancing. Something about your love, something about your love, changes everything.
Good morning, Firmly Rooted family, and happy Wednesday morning. Pastor Tom, Firmly Rooted Ministries, and we are pre-recorded. So I'm actually doing this on Tuesday. Kimberly and I are leaving to go down to Georgia and then Firmly Rooted Greendale this weekend. We're leaving tomorrow morning, and so we're getting the devotions in and getting them recorded so that you all can have them, and we can leave early enough to get to where we need to get at the time that we need to get there. So I welcome you as we go into Mark chapter 8, verses 1 through 10. and we're talking about the feeding of the 4,000, right? There were two miraculous feedings that took place in the Gospels. One was 5,000 people, not including the women and children, and then you have the 4,000. And Mark's recording that in Mark 8, 1 through 10. Let's, since I can't say hi to everybody, we'll just go right to the reading. Let me pull it up. So Jesus feeds the 4,000. In those days, when again a great crowd had gathered, they had nothing to eat, and he called his disciples to him and said to them, I have compassion on the crowd, because they have been with me now 3 days and have nothing to eat. So in this particular miracle, Jesus is the one who knows that those people have been with him for a long, long time. Their food has kind of run out, and something has to happen if we're going to keep the momentum going, right? If we're going to keep teaching. He says, if I send them away hungry to their homes, they may even faint on the way, and some have come from a long way, right? It may not even be safe to just kind of like tell them to go leave now. And his disciples answered him, how can one feed these people with bread here in this desolate place? Like there's no stores to run to. Even if we had the money, there's like we are in a desolate place. We're out here in the country, in the hillside, and there's just really no place to get the food. The bread has to be made. It has to be taken care of. And he asked them, how many loaves do you have? 7. We have 7. 7 loaves that have been brought to this event that haven't been eaten yet. They've already been prepared. Correct? There's no stores and there's no kitchens and there's no place to go make bread right now or even buy bread right now. But this is what we have. We have 7 loaves. And he directed the crowd to sit down on the ground, and he took the 7 loaves, and having given thanks, he broke them and gave them to his disciples to set before the people. And they set them before the crowd, and they had a few fish as well. And having blessed them, he said that these also should be set before them. And they ate and were satisfied, and they took up the broken pieces left over, 7 baskets full. And there were about 4,000 people, and he sent them away. And then immediately, there's that word immediately, he got into the boat with his disciples and went to the district of Dalmanutha. You might ask yourself, why are there 2 miracles doing the same thing? A lot of commentators have lots of different ideas. But I think the point that I always come back to is if they have already had the feeding of the 5,000 and this comes a little later, do they just think that Jesus can't do it again? Do they think that that was just kind of like a one and done miracle? What is it that blocks their ability to say, hey, Jesus, here's 7 loaves, multiply them, please? That's not the way it goes. I think they live with the same doubts and fears that you and I live. We can experience a miracle one day, and the next day, the winds and the waves come, and we think that we're doomed. And oh my gosh, the world's going to end, and God's not listening to me. And he just did an amazing thing just days ago, but we just kind of miss it. It's almost hard to wake up every day and expect the miraculous because we, as adults, have lost our wonder. You know, we talked about that in our online life group yesterday. We've lost our wonder, our ability to go, who is this that even the winds and the waves obey him? But secondly, and I think the most important thing to realize is in both the feeding of the 5,000 and in the feeding of the 4,000, there's always something to work with. It may not seem to be enough. Hence the scarcity feeling we get in the kingdom of this world. Not enough. Not enough. I need more. There's not enough. I got to work harder. I got to get a new job. I got to work harder. I got to work harder. There's not enough. There's not enough. Not realizing that our expenditures are growing at the same rate as our income, but that's a whole nother issue. See, the one thing that has to happen, and we got to catch it. We have to catch it. The feeding of the 5,000, not including the women and children, and the feeding of the 4,000 doesn't take place if they're not willing to put something into Jesus's hands. We all have something that as a steward, we take out of our hands and give it to him. Time, talents, treasures, a few loaves of bread, some fish. Because something happens when we put things into his hands and we rely on him. All of a sudden, we've shifted to his kingdom, and he can do things that nobody in the kingdom of this world can do. He can walk on water. He can raise the dead. He can heal a leper. He can multiply fish and bread. Just like God put manna in the desert for the children of Israel for 40 years. My point is, what in your life today, or what in my life today, am I trying to control, or I'm worried about, or anxious about, that I just need to put into his hands? I need to put it into his hands. He's the only one that can do something with it. I'm not God. I can't take control of the things that are his, right? Lately, I've been talking a lot about the serenity prayer. Knowing what I should be in control of, knowing what God should be in control of, and having the wisdom and discernment to know the difference. So that every day I'm forced to put things into his hands, because it's just not my job. It's his job. And that's how he gets honor and glory, and he gets worshiped and praised, because he's faithful. And he shows us that although the kingdom of this world lives in scarcity, his kingdom is a kingdom of abundance. Wow. What did Jesus say? Oh, yeah. The thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy, but I've come that you might have life and have it abundantly. What do you have to put into his hands? Well, I'm going through the same exercise myself. How about you too? What are we trying to control that should be in his hands? And how about today, we put it in his hands and let go and trust that his will be done, even if it's not our will. Amen? Good. I hope this devotion was a blessing to you. Have a great day. Make it a firmly rooted day, and may someone see Jesus in us today. Peace.